Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Chris Harold. I'm the Head of Crop Nutrition Agronomy for Yara UK and Ireland, and I'm joined today by my colleague Antonis Angeletikis, who is Yara's Director of Biostimulants. We're talking to you today from the Glasshouse here at Pocklington, and we're delighted to share with you today the introduction of a new brand of products from Yara. Some of you will be familiar with our Yara Vita range of products, which are our foliar nutrient, seed treatments and fertilizer coating products. But maybe you are less familiar with the biostimulants that Yara have been developing over the last several years. Up until now, those products have been branded along with the Yara Vita products, but as the use of biostimulants globally is beginning to increase year on year, Yara have recognised the importance of giving the biostimulant portfolio its own identification. So we're very pleased today to introduce you to YaraAmplix. YaraAmplix is the new brand name for Yara's range of biostimulants. So during today's webinar, myself and Antonis will be taking you through how we see biostimulants playing a key part in crop nutrition programs going forward. And Antonis particularly will be focusing during the webinar on how Yara have been developing, formulating and validating our products in the marketplace. There are CPD points available for the webinar today, and the code is there on the screen for you to jot down at your convenience. I will put that back up at the end of the presentation just in case anyone happens to be joining us late today. So I'll just show you through what the running order of today's webinar is. As I said, I'm going to start off by talking about why biostimulants are important in crop nutrition programs, and an introduction to the YaraAmplix brand in more depth. Then I'll hand over to Antonis, who will take you through how we've been developing and, as I say, formulating and validating the products in various crops. And then Antonis will hand back to myself, and I will introduce you to where we see the products particularly fitting in our crops that we grow in our own UK and Irish markets. We'll conclude today with a Q&A session, so please, during the webinar, place any questions or queries you may have in the chat, and there'll be opportunity for myself and Antonis to answer those at the end of today's session. I hope you enjoy it. We're certainly pleased to be here today introducing to you the YaraAmplix brand.
Chris, thank you very much. If I may comment, first of all, hello to everyone, good afternoon. I would like to say from my point of view that being here today, I'm very delighted because UK is a very important market for us as a company for our biostimulant strategy. And it's very important for us to have the opportunity to explain to all of you why we decided to be part of this segment, why Yara as a company, as a fertilizer company, a leader in this segment, decided also to be involved in the biostimulant segment, and how this portfolio can complement and contribute towards our ambition on growing a nature-positive food future. So this is what we are going to talk today, and stay tuned in order to see the following, let's say, developments that Chris is going to present. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Antonis. Okay, so I would like to just take you through why Yara are investing and taking the time to look at biostimulants in the broader context of a complete crop nutrition offering. Well, we know with global populations increasing in certain regions and people's dietary interests changing, that we're having to produce more from less. But at the same time, we have to take into account the impact that that can have on the environment. And when we look at a more sustainable crop production future, we have to do more with what we can from the land mass we've got. We know that CO2 emissions from inputs are also something that need to be taken into account. And we know that climate change is also impacting on global crop production. And we've seen that for ourselves in our own market this year with the extreme wet weather that we've experienced in the UK and Ireland. And are we reaching the maximum potential of our crops? And we have to say that we probably aren't. This data was put together some years ago, but it is still relevant in the context that we're talking about today. And you can see here that the global average yield of these crops that I'm showing you are represented in the blue, but you can see the orange bar at the top of each of those crops showing the record yields that were recorded when this slide was put together. And clearly there's probably higher yielding crops than that by now. We understand the impact that biotic stresses can have on crops, for example, fungus, diseases and pests, but we also know that there's a huge gap between what we're actually achieving in the crops globally to what the genetic potential is. And some of that is down to abiotic stress. Now, I'm not claiming today, in the context of talking about biostimulants, that they are going to close that gap entirely, but clearly there is a lot of potential that we're not achieving in these crops around the globe. For example, maize. Two-thirds of the crop's potential is not being realised on a global scale. Over 80% of wheat yield genetic potential is not being recognised or achieved on a global scale. So there is a lot of work to do on closing that gap. Just bringing it back to a more local level, if you look at winter wheat yields in the UK to the present day, we're often challenged in our industry on why crop yields, and particularly wheat yields, for example, have plateaued in the last 20 years. And there are a lot of reasons why that's the case. But the reason I'm presenting this slide to you today is to draw your attention to what's happened in the last 10 to 12 years in the UK. And it's those anomalies. You know, we've had some exceptionally high yielding years, 2015 and 2019, for example, but we've also had some exceptionally poor yielding years, 2012, 2020, and we know what's happened this year in 2024 with wheat yields. So the reason I'm wanted to share this with you is the anomalies, the divergence that we're getting in recent years away from that average yield. And it's something that we mustn't ignore, and it's something that we as an industry need to work together on trying to close that gap. So I've got a short video I'd like to share with you now about the YaraAmplix brand, and I'll allow you to see that, and I'll continue my presentation once we get to the end of the video.
I remember the sound of the birds, the smell of the soil, the heat of the sun. It was simple and peaceful. Growing up, things become more complex. The balances of modern farming, learning to grow more with less, and working with nature to enhance the quantity and quality of our crops. Like my father taught me then, it's all about giving more back than we take. And sharing this knowledge with my daughter is what brings me joy today. As a family, we share the sunrise, our land, and our dreams. We work together and we celebrate together.
YaraAmplix. Life is better enhanced.
Okay, hopefully you enjoyed that short video. Now I'd like to go and look a little bit more in detail about biostimulants and why Yara believe that they are important in a regenerative farming approach. Yara has defined regenerative farming as a systematic, outcome-based approach to adopt the best sustainable farming practices that positively affect nature and the climate across 5 recurring themes. Firstly, mitigating in-field carbon emissions, improving soil health and decreasing and restoring degraded land, resource use, and that isn't just around nutrient use efficiency, but it's around making better use of water resources, reducing biodiversity decline, and of course the prosperity of our farmer customers around the world. Biostimulants are a vital solution for that sustainable agriculture. We know that they can help improve tolerance to abiotic stresses. They can improve nutrient use efficiency and also crop quality and ultimately crop yield. I've already touched on this yield gap that we see from what we can achieve on an average annual basis to what the genetic potential of those crops is. And as I said, I'm not suggesting today that biostimulants are going to close that gap on their own, but that in combination with nutrients and the biostimulants together, we can help close some of that yield gap. When we talk about those biophysical impacts from the climate or weather, soil health and the availability of water, that is where the biostimulants will play their part. So, YaraAmplix is Yara's portfolio of biostimulant technology. Where has the word come from? Well, Amplix has been inspired by the word amplify and the multiplied benefits provided to crops by the addition of biostimulants to a crop nutrition program. I've got another short video for you now. It's an animated one, but it just highlights where we've developed the products and how they can be used at different points throughout the crop cycle.
Enhancing your crop's natural potential in harmony with nature. The world faces challenges of feeding a growing population with limited resources. Farmers must cope with climate change and grow more with less. To meet these challenges, farmers can now rely on YaraAmplix, a range of biostimulant products from Yara. YaraAmplix works in harmony with nature and is designed to amplify natural plant processes to enhance tolerance to abiotic stress, support soil health, improve nutrient use efficiency, as well as better crop quality and productivity. YaraAmplix biostimulants are key to regenerative agriculture as they reduce impact on climate change, optimize the use of resources, improve soil health, improve biodiversity, as well as farmer prosperity. YaraAmplix has a diverse range of products which are suitable for different application methods. They complement Yara solutions across the growing season, and they enhance your crop's natural potential in harmony with nature. Together, we can grow a nature-positive food future.
So I hope you enjoyed that short animation. So Yara's goal is to become a leader in the biostimulant segment while contributing to grow a nature-positive food future. Biostimulants are becoming a must-have within crop nutrition programs, and they can be combined with Yara's more traditional fertilizer products within those programs. Through improving plant and soil health, improving nutrient use efficiency, tolerance to abiotic stress, they contribute to all those regenerative agriculture themes. And it's also worth emphasising that Yara's science-based development of products is equally attributable to the YaraAmplix biostimulants, using that knowledge that we've developed in crop agronomy for many, many years. And our vision as Yara is to develop that diversified portfolio. We've got a range of products at the moment, and Antonis will go into a little bit more detail about how they fit within crop programs, but we aren't stopping there. we will continue to develop and refine those products and new offerings as well as we develop the portfolio over the coming years. So we know that they can help with the abiotic stress tolerance, whether that's water stress, heat stress, salinity, the impact of chemical applications, nutrient use efficiency. It's not just about nitrogen, it's around about those other key elements as well. For example, nutrient solubilization within the soil, and also crop quality. You know, that comes from soil health, plant health, and root structures as well. And we know that a healthy plant is a happy plant. I'd just like to finish my section off by highlighting the investment that Yara are making. Not far from here at Pocklington, we're investing in a new production facility at Howden, just down the road from us here in East Yorkshire, that will be the global production plant for YaraAmplix and the YaraVita portfolios of product. That facility will have twice the production capacity that we currently have here at Pocklington, and it's great to see that investment from Yara in those facilities, particularly here in the UK. So that brings me to the end of my introduction to the YaraAmplix, and I will now hand over to Antonis to take you into a bit more background about how we've developed those products, formulated those products, and also validated them. Antonis.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you for the excellent introduction. In order to explain, as Chris said, we want to become a leader on the biostimulant segment. And in order to do this, we are not just expecting for you, our partners, our customers, the farmers, to just start buying the products. We are investing, we are implementing specific actions. Chris mentioned that we are going to build a new factory nearby where our current factory is. But of course, we are not doing only this. He said before that we are going to, and we are already developing, a diversified portfolio with specific effects. But in order to do this, we need to invest heavily on our R&D capabilities. This is very critical when we talk about biostimulant product development. So currently, as a company, the last 6 years, we have invested a lot on human resources. Currently, we have a team of more than 30 scientists working on biostimulant projects with different expertise. We have colleagues that are agronomists, we have microbiologists, molecular biologists, soil scientists, and many other expertise that are gathered together in order to contribute to our product development. Of course, human resources is one part, and the knowledge is very critical, but we are also investing on expanding our capabilities in terms of labs. We are building a new lab for microbial biostimulants, where we are doing the development of microorganisms, but also at the same time, we are investing on enhancing the capabilities by adding new equipment that will allow us to be able to do fast screening of new bioactive components for biostimulants, but also to help us to define the mode of action and understand the efficacy of our formulations before going to the next step, that is the field development stage. Of course, talking about R&D and enhancing the capabilities by itself for us is not sufficient. That's why we have also developed a systematic product development process. We are starting from the ideation, where we have an idea how to solve a specific problem for the farmers, and we have specific gates, decision gates, where we monitor the development of each of the projects from the ideation during the period of the product development until the end of the industrialization and commercialization phase. And of course, in each of these gate decision processes, we are going to stop, monitor what is happening, review what we have done in the previous steps, and see if it still makes sense, if the project is feasible, if the effect of the formulation is in the direction that we want to go ahead. And for me to explain you a little bit more on this specific product development, efficacy evaluation and validation process, I will use this slide to further elaborate on how we are working on product development. As I mentioned before, we start from the ideation. This could be an idea coming from the markets, coming from our R&D team or the product management team. For example, we want to develop a new product that will have an effect on enhancing nitrogen use efficiency. The first step for us would be first to check if this is a feasible project to work, if this is something that with the current capabilities that we have, we can go ahead. And of course, to see if this will make a difference for the farmers. If we see that on that direction and these parameters are covered, then we are going to start, and our R&D and chemical development team will start by screening the literature in order for them to identify what are the potential bioactive components and other ingredients that we can use in the formulation in order to deliver the expected effect. We usually start with a list of more than 100 components, and then our regulatory team will enter in the discussion in order to see which of the components can be registered, which of them are safe for the end user, for our colleagues in the production facilities, but also are safe also for the consumers. When we will exclude all the potential components that are not allowed to be used based on the regulatory frameworks that we are working, then we will start with the chemical development process. This means that we are going to start combining different active ingredients, different components, in order to develop many different prototypes, always having in mind that our target is to deliver a specific effect for the farmers. By the time that we are finalizing the first step of the prototypes, then this will come to our R&D team. In that case, we will start with lab assays, with small scale assays where we are going to use the omics technologies like phenomics, metabolomics, transcriptomics, in order for us to identify which of the prototypes are the most potent, the most effective ones, and start understanding, defining the mode of action of the product that we are going to bring in the market. From this process, we are going to select probably a few prototypes, and then we will go to the next step, that is the small-scale testing. There we are going to have studies that will be done under controlled conditions, in chamber growth, or in small-scale trials in our greenhouse facilities or in our open field facilities in Germany, where we are going to define application methods, we are going to define application timings and range of rates for each of the products. From this process, we will end up with the most potent, the most effective candidate that we will then bring to the final stage, that is the field development stage. There, we are going to have trials in 2 different seasons in a variety of the crops, depending, of course, of the effects and the claims that we want to have for the product, where we are going to validate what we have seen in the lab assays and also in the small-scale studies. So this process, as you can understand, is a lengthy process that requires a lot of attention, and for us, in our case, it takes somewhere between 3 to 5 years from the idea until we have a product that can be brought to the commercial teams to start the registration process. Of course, someone might ask, okay, are you the only ones that you are doing this? Are there other companies out there that can do something similar? And why biostimulants coming from Yara are considered to be unique and more effective than the competitors? I agree with you that there might be other companies out there investing on R&D, investing on their capabilities on building greenhouses or additional labs. But the important point is that you need also to have the know-how. When we talk about a biostimulant product, what it matters is the combination of the active ingredients and not the specific ingredients themselves. So you need to have the knowledge in order to be able to combine, first of all, to select the best ingredients to deliver the effect that you want to have, and then you need to be able to combine this, to formulate this in a way that you will bring in the market a product that will be safe for the crops, effective, but also will be easy to use. And as Yara, we are not starting from zero. We already have an experience and know-how of more than 50 years working on formulations for our YaraVita portfolio. And we are utilizing this knowledge in order for us to develop our biostimulant portfolio following the same process. But we don't do only this. We combine this know-how with the expertise and the knowledge of more than 100 years on crop nutrition, and also the knowledge that we have acquired the last few years on plant physiology and also on biostimulation. We combine our R&D knowledge with our knowledge in formulation to deliver unique and effective formulations. And of course, it's not because we say this, but we validate this in our trials. I mentioned before that we are developing a diverse portfolio of products with specific effects. And we are doing as part of the product development stage, we are validating the effects, we are validating the application timings, rates, and the crops that we can use the products before bringing the product in the market. And this is a very important and critical step for us in the process of commercializing a biostimulant product. Of course, we talked before that we are in the process, we have the vision, and as Chris said before, to develop a diversified portfolio. But we have already started this work many, many years ago. We haven't started now. We started almost 10 years ago working in order for us to understand what is a biostimulant, how biostimulant ingredients can influence, can impact crops, and we have already started the process. And that's why currently, in our available global commercial portfolio, we have 10 solutions. Each one of them, as you can see, will have specific effects. We'll be addressing specific effects on specific crops or for specific application methods. It can be a product for seed treatment, it can be a product for fertilizer coating with the objective to enhance nutrient use efficiency, it can be a foliar formulation, or it can be a fertigation product. I will just bring an example when we talk about specific effects in order for you to understand what we mean. I mentioned in the beginning of my talk that as Yara, on the product development process, we are focusing on the benefits and the effects that the product will have for the farmers and the plants. And we start with this idea. So, just for you to understand better, one of the products that is already a commercial product for Yara UK, YaraAmplix Flostrel, is a formulation that can be used in order to improve flowering and seed retention, specifically in broad egg crops, but not limited in this crop group. And this is just one of the examples. I'm not going to go through the whole portfolio, but we will be happy with Chris in future webinars to have the opportunity to talk more about the effects that our formulations can have. And of course, someone might ask, but okay, Antonis, you as Yara, you are claiming specific things on your label. For example, Flostrel will support flowering, will support seed retention. How can we be, we the users, how can we be convinced that indeed the product will deliver this effect? And to be honest, I also, if I was in your position, I would have exactly the same question. But you need to have in mind that now at European level, we have a regulation, we have a regulatory framework that includes biostimulants. And according to this regulation, there is a requirement only for biostimulants to validate the claims that the companies are putting on the label. So, as part of this process and the EU regulatory process, we as a company, we don't have just to prepare a dossier in order to cover the requirements related to safety of the product, chemical safety of the product, like the REACH or the UK REACH requirements, but we must submit also an efficacy dossier where we are going to prove the efficacy claims that we want to put on the label. And believe me, this process is based on science, and also this process is being done not by Yara, but we have to assign the trials to external research organizations that they are going to conduct the trials and then deliver the results to us in order for us to prepare our dossier that we will later have to submit to a notified body, and for the notified body to review all the data and either to certify the product and the specific claims, or to come back to us and say, sorry guys, but you are missing some data, you need to bring me more data. So it's not an easy process to go. But still, this gives us the confidence that what we are bringing in the market is a product with validated claims. And just for you to understand a little bit the process and how we start with the certification process, we started back in 2022 with the objective to start certifying our first biostimulant products. We started doing trials in 6 countries. One of them is also UK, among the 6 countries that we have used in the product registration trials. We have tested the products in 16 different crops, depending on the product and the claims. We have almost 300 trials, and we have invested until now 2.8 million euros for the trials. And this process, in order for us to be able to develop the dossier, the efficacy part, it requires on average 2 years. And then we are ready to submit our dossier together with the rest of the information that we have compiled related to the safety and chemical safety of the product, and then we are waiting for the evaluation from the notified body. So someone might ask, but why this is important? Why this regulation is important, and how will benefit the end user, how will benefit the farmer? What this CE mark on a biostimulant product that will allow to Yara to say that I have a plant biostimulant CE marked with this specific claim will mean for the farmer. First of all, I mentioned before that we need to submit a dossier that will certify that in terms of quality and safety, we are covering all the requirements of the regulation. At the same time, a very important thing for biostimulants is to prove the effects that we have on the label, the claims that we have on the label. And this is proven based on European standards. At the same time, we go through a conformity assessment process by an external body, a body that is notified, that is certified for this reason, and this will be the body that will either give us the certification or we reject our dossier. And of course, all this will bring increased credibility for this segment. When you have your products going through this process, it means that you are delivering a unique and effective product that will do what you have written on the label. And for me to conclude this part, just for you to understand, we have already, through this process, we have already obtained the certification for 5 of our biostimulant products that are relevant for the European markets, and we will continue working on other relevant solutions for the European market in order for us to bring all the products in the future with the CE mark. That will mean that all the claims that we have on the label have been approved, have been validated based on science. That was the part where I wanted to explain a little bit more to you what we are doing as a company, how we are investing in terms of R&D, in terms of product development, in order to bring unique solutions in the market. And now I think it's time to explain a little bit more to you, together with Chris, how we are going to position these different solutions in a crop program. Chris, if you don't mind, you can join me in order to continue with the next part.
That's great. Thank you ever so much, Antonis. That's very comprehensive. Thank you very much. So just to carry on from what Antonis has been talking about, I'd like to just introduce you to the concept of how we would like to introduce those products into some of our crops that we grow in our market, those sort of broader acre crops that you'll be familiar with. And you've probably seen, if you're familiar with our Yara Vita products, how we've positioned those, and we've developed crop-specific products, specific timings through the crop cycle. And we see that the YaraAmplix portfolio having certain positions within those crop cycles equally. Antonis has already explained that within the portfolio there are products that can be used as seed treatments, fertilizer coatings, soil applied products, and also foliar applied products. There are also opportunities for using some of the products in fertigation situations as well. A lot of our work done in the UK and Ireland in the last few years, trial work, replicated work has been looking at positioning the products and finding out where they give us the best results. A lot of that work has been done positioning those products at what you might call traditional timings throughout the crop cycle. So for example, in wheat, we might be looking at including those products at tillering, T1, T2 fungicide timings, for example. But we don't just stop there, because it's possible that some of those products are actually going to give us more of an impact applied at maybe not the traditional timings. So we also look at our work at positioning products at different timings in the crop cycle than we might be traditionally familiar with. We aren't going to go into too much detail today on those specific products. We would like to invite you to join us at future webinars and other events where we will share more information and knowledge on those individual products and where we've seen the benefit of using them. And really today was just to give you that introduction to that YaraAmplix portfolio and where we see the products potentially fitting through the growing season. Oilseed rape is another broadacre crop in the UK market. Again, we're looking at where we can get the most from the products. Is it as a seed treatment? Is it as a soil applied product? Or is it actually at foliar applications throughout the season? And likewise in potatoes, another crop. We've got a lot of data now that we've collated over the last few years, and we've continued with that replicated work this year in potatoes again. And again, where can we get the most out of that product at those different timings? And the work we've been doing here this year and the last couple of years is not just limited to those three crops that I've just highlighted. We've done work in maize, grassland, sugar beet, and also spring barley. And so we're starting to build up data in our own market to validate these products that Anthony's team have been developing over the last few years. So what makes Yara's biostimulants unique? Well, Anthony has already explained to you in his piece about the amount of work that goes into sort of that discovery phase and the development and formulation and taking it through to a product that then we can use in commercial situations. So I would encourage you to sort of look beyond the label, if you like. For those of you that are familiar with our other products, you will have confidence in them that what Yara say about them will deliver to you in the field. And I think we can say exactly the same about the YaraAmplix portfolio as well. You know, the sourcing of the raw materials, the extraction methods that the lab have developed to get the best out of the raw materials, the formulation, the compatibility and traceability, and all with the backing up of the knowledge that we have in the commercial teams. When you're talking to us and using those products through the growing season, you know you've got the backup from the Yara team to help you get the most out of those products. So that brings us to the end of the presentation today. I hope you've enjoyed it and you've learnt more about the YaraAmplix brand and portfolio of products, why Yara believe that biostimulants are going to play an increasingly important part in crop nutrition programs, and why you've learnt from Antonis the amount of work that goes into the development of those products, and hopefully you've now got the confidence that when you use them, that they are going to deliver to you what we claim they do on the tin. So that brings us to the end. I have put the basis CPD point code up for you there, just in case any of you joined us a little bit later from the beginning. And now we will take the opportunity to go through any of the questions and queries that you've raised during the webinar, and myself and Antonis will now do our very best to answer those questions.